It's another edition of Time About the Movies. We're looking at the movies released on November 9th, 1990. We only got 4 movies to look at today, so let's go ahead and jump right on into it. So let's start off with the first movie, the biggest new release of the weekend, and that was the horror sequel, Child's Play 2.
Sorry, Jack. Chucky's back.
Child's Play 2. It's playtime. Again.
I'm not gonna lie. As a little kid, Chucky scared the living crap out of me. I mean, anytime I would see him on TV promoting in a promo for a movie, or even when he was on, even when it wasn't the actual actor on Saturday Night. There was one time he was on Saturday Night Live, and it wasn't Brad Dourif playing him, and I remember when he was on TV, and I just ran out of the room because I was scared of Chucky back then. But you know what? Nowadays, out of all the horror movie icons, if I saw Chucky sitting in a bar, I wouldn't mind having a drink with him. I just wouldn't say anything to get on his bad side, so he'd kill me within a couple minutes afterwards. But yeah, I always thought Chucky Chucky used to scare me when I was a little kid. But as I grew up, he did seem a lot more cooler than I remember when I was little. But that being said, I haven't seen any of the Child's Play movies, mostly because of my fear as a kid, and I just didn't have the interest to see any of the movies. But I like the character. I have seen stuff with the character involved, specifically the recent Chucky TV series on USA, which is actually pretty good. If you haven't seen it, I definitely say check it out. So that's my experience with Chucky. Like I said, I haven't seen the movies, but I did find some interesting things about this movie, because the first movie was released by MGM, and they actually bought that because the president of United Artists and MGM believed it had the potential for several sequels, and they needed a new horror franchise because, well, MGM had just put out Poltergeist 3, and that movie meant the Poltergeist series was pretty much dead. So basically needed a new series, and because that first movie was a success, they were actually going to do a sequel, but then United Artists dropped out at the last minute, and they decided to ban the studio from producing more horror films after that. And the interesting thing is that after MGM and United Artists didn't do the movie anymore, it said that some other studios were looking into it, including Paramount Pictures, Warner Brothers, Columbia, Fox, New Line Cinema, those people. But Disney was even looking to do Child's Play 2, and that was intriguing to me. More than likely, yes, it wouldn't have been a straight up Walt Disney movie. It would have probably went to Touchstone or Hollywood Pictures. But I don't know. That's kind of hilarious to see that Chucky almost became a Disney property, even though the original the remake of Child's Play, the one that came out a couple of years ago, did actually get originally released as a Disney Blu-ray, because if you saw the original Blu-ray release for it, it actually had the Disney Blu-ray format there. It had the Blu-ray DVD digital thing the way Disney does, and it was actually put out by Disney because I think some of the Fox movies that Disney some of the Fox properties actually made it onto Disney's Blu-ray sets at first, but then in recent years, when they've repackaged them, they've gone back over to Warner Brothers. But anyway, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting that Disney almost got Chucky. But yeah, like I said, I haven't seen any of the Child's Play movies themselves. I've only seen a little bit of the TV series, which is actually not that bad. Like I said, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I think if you're a big Chucky fan, you'll definitely like that. I can't really say anything about the movies themselves because I haven't seen them, but they do look fun. They do look like a ton of fun, especially if you like those type of movies. And that's all I got on this one. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen the movies, so I can't really comment on them. So that's my overall assessment of Chucky and the Child's Play movies. So there's that. So on to the next movie, and that is the Krays.
On October the 17th, 1934, in the East End of London, 2 extraordinary boys.
Mummy loves you more than anything.
Their names were Ronnie and Reggie. They were twins, and as they grew, they came to understand the power of fear. They were the Krays, and their story is terrifying, because it is true. Gary and Martin Kent star as the Krays. Bonded by love.
So basically, if you don't know the story of the Krays, they were kind of like a gang that in 1960s London, and believe it or not, they actually were alive when this movie came out. I think one of the brothers died about 5 years afterward, and then the other brother died about 10 years afterward. So these are about these two gangster twins who, like I said, they were part of an organized gang in 1960s London. This is actually not the first movie that they've made about these two brothers, because later on, about 25 years later, they would do Legion with Tom Hardy playing both of those roles. And I've seen Legion. I would say it's definitely a better movie if I had seen this one, but but I have to remember that this is actually coming straight from. No, actually, that's not true, because Legion and this were both coming from Britain, because Tom Hardy's British. But yeah, I've seen Legion. I think from the little bit I've seen from the Krays, I would say Legion's a better movie, largely because of Tom Hardy's dual performance in that movie. But this movie in particular could actually be pretty good. This actually does seem like a really interesting story that worked very well in Legion. I'm kind of curious to see how it works in this particular movie. Trying to see here if there's any good things about it. It's got some good reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's got like an 82%. It was up for a couple of awards in Britain, the BAFTA award. So, I don't know. Maybe it could be good. I'm not going to rush out to see it at the moment, but it's definitely something I'll keep my eye on if I ever see it in the store or at a good price, or if it ever comes down in price. But that's my thoughts on the Krays. So let's go ahead and move on to probably the most notable movie of the entire weekend, because it eventually won Best Picture, and that is Kevin Costner's Dances with Wolves, at least to me, is kind of like Driving Miss Daisy the year before. Was it really the best picture of 1990? I don't think so. But that's not to say that Dances with Wolves is a bad movie. It's not. It's a very good movie. It's a well-made film. It does have a very generic kind of premise to it, but I think what carries it over is the performances. I think Kevin Costner does a very good job here playing John Dunbar. I think he also does a very good job with producing and directing this movie. He put a lot into this movie. There was a lot riding on this movie for a number of reasons, including Costner's name attached to it. But most importantly, at the time, Orion Pictures was not doing good. They actually had filed for bankruptcy up to that point, and so that when this movie won Best Picture, it kind of helped save their studio for a little bit, as did Silence of the Lambs the following year, which also had which also was back when Orion was still in bankruptcy. But so it helped save their studio for a little bit, because this movie made a ton of money. It made over like $400 million worldwide, and of course, it helped to win the Best Picture that year, and along with some other Oscars. But yeah, like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's far from it. I think it's a very good, well-made film. I don't think it's the best of these type of movies. I think I've seen more movies with a similar type of premise to it done a whole lot better. But I do think the performances and the way the film is shot and the way that the film just looks in general, I think does make it stand out more. And it is important, and it is an important piece of film history, because it led to the rebirth of the Western. Because at the time, the Western wasn't doing so well, and then you have this, and then a couple years later, you would have Unforgiven, and then you would have Maverick a couple years later, and then so on and so forth. The Western came back in a big way, starting with this movie, and not every Western in the 90s worked, but this was one of the ones that really stood out the best and still holds up a lot even today. Like I said, it's still a very good movie. I don't think it should have been the Best Picture. I think a lot of people would agree something like Goodfellas would definitely be considered the Best Picture of the year, but I don't work for the Academy, and the Academy just, like I said, like I've said before, the Academy will just, they don't usually pick the best overall movie. They pick the movie that they like more than most people do. But like I said, Dances with Wolves isn't a terrible movie. It's actually a very good film, a well-made movie. I don't think it was the Best Picture of the year, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. I think a lot of people do enjoy it, but if you were to ask a lot of people if they would choose this over something like Goodfellas, I'd say Goodfellas probably would win out the most. But like I said, Dances with Wolves isn't terrible. So there's that. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie, and that is The Return of Superfly.
Eddie, we got pop, man. We got pop. I mean, it whacked everybody.
Eddie!
The heat is on, and Mr. Cool is back. Superfly's back. State your purpose.
I'm the meter man.
Back for revenge.
You know who killed Eddie? Now they're trying to kill me. I want you to help me get him.
In a world that's meaner.
Are you looking to get back into the life?
No, just trying to survive.
Tougher.
Who did it?
And deadlier than ever before.
Looks like you're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I want to meet your people in the organization.
Everything's different now. We make the crack and distribute it. There's setups just like this all over the city.
And though the rules have changed,
It's a lot of killing.
your homeboy, need a light?
It's rough.
Joey, want this business taken care of.
The stakes are still the same.
Where's Priest? It was you that was supposed to be hitting the apartment.
I'm going to do these creeps my way.
You're not Priest, man. You ain't too smart, are you? You're trying to get us all killed.
The winners live.
Sure to blow.
Like the space shuttle.
And the losers die.
No nookie tonight, Joey.
Nathan Purdie, Sam Jackson. The Return of Superfly, rated R.
Well, I'll give it this. It looks a lot better than the 2018 Superfly movie ever did. I mean, that movie was just terrible. I hated that movie. But I don't know. I mean, to me, Superfly was something that I don't think can work in a modern day setting. And this movie, I think, definitely from that little bit there shows why this idea probably works better only in the 70s. But they made it, and again, it just shows you why I think this idea works better in the 70s, because the original Superfly works as a blaxploitation movie, and it fits the time period better, and I think that's tough to do, to try to adapt it for a modern setting. I mean, there are some times when you can make that work, like I think the Shaft remake that they did in 2000 with Sam Jackson was a lot better than I think a lot of people give it credit for. I even like the 2019 one they did, which is more of like a comedy, and kind of fit more in a tone to what the original Superfly was, not Superfly, Shaft was. But yeah, when I look at the trailer for this, it looks just like a generic cop movie. I mean, it doesn't really look like anything that makes it stand out to the original Superfly, or even has anything that's really connected to it. I guess the only major thing about this movie is that it has Samuel L. Jackson in there in one of his earliest film roles, but yeah, other than that, though, the idea of bringing Superfly into a modern setting, doing like a traditional 90s style crime drama with the character of Superfly, it just doesn't work. It's an idea that I don't think is very well done. I don't think it's an idea that really succeeded as well as I think they wanted it to. And yeah, like, judging from this trailer alone, I really couldn't even tell that it was a movie based off of Superfly until the very end of the trailer, where they show the Superfly title on there. I mean, it just looks so generic as a crime drama, but it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work, at least from that trailer. But so that's my thoughts on The Return of Superfly. So with that said, that's going to wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We really got a good one for the next time around. The middle of November had a number of notable movies, including a certain little movie starring Macaulay Culkin, Daniel Stern, and Joe Pesci that went on to become didn't do anything special, went on to become one of the biggest comedy hits of all time. Yeah, we're going to talk about the original Home Alone. We're also going to talk about Rocky V, another great underrated Disney movie that came out in 1990, The Rescuers Down Under, and also Eating. So, pretty good show on the way next time around. So definitely look for that tomorrow. But other than that, though, thank you guys for watching. And as always, if you want to see more videos like this, check out the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for another new episode. So thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And until then, take care.